Wow. As a small business owner myself, I got so much out of this interview. In fact, when Jamie and I stopped recording, I was like, Jamie, I was having a hard time doing this interview because I kept listening to her and like going through my experiences and what's going on for me as a small business owner. And I was just like, she gave such great things to focus on. And my brain just went there and I was like finding answers and ideas. And I was like, wait, you're hosting this podcast. What's the next question? So I got a lot out of this episode and I know that you will too. Jamie G. Smith is my guest today. I just love her. We're in the same mastermind together. That's how we met. And ever since we've just really connected, have the same beliefs, and she's just an incredible human being. And in today's episode, we're talking about some of those invisible barriers that we have and how to identify them and what the common ones are for us small business owners and tools to help us overcome those barriers. We also talk about energy management, and I really love how Jamie talks about this, why it's so important, how we can reach our potential, the steps we need to take to get there, like our true full potential. I got so much out of this episode. I know you will too. Before we dive in, here's a little bit more about my guest. Jamie G. Smith empowers entrepreneurs to shatter the glass ceilings of self-doubt and limitation, propelling them into a realm of unstoppable success. As a renowned business and lifestyle elevation strategist, speaker, and content creator, Jamie is the founder of LUXE Everyday. LUXE stands for Leading a Unique, Extraordinary Existence Every Day. And she truly helps retailers do this and business owners do this. You're going to see it, just a glimpse of it in today's episode. You're going to love it. I can't wait for you to listen. Let's dive in. Welcome to Rooted in Retail. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis. Here we have engaging and informative conversations with successful indie retailers and industry experts. Together, we learn, connect, and grow. All right, here's today's episode. Jamie, welcome to Rooted in Retail. I'm thrilled you're here.
Oh, you know what, Crystal? I am so excited to be here. Since the moment we met on the airplane, right? I had such an instantaneous connection to you, and I just love your energy. I love how brilliant you are at business, and we just have a lot of similar ways of viewpoints as far as how to do business and also just how to be good human beings, I think.
I know, I think so too. And I just have to say this whole airplane story. So we're in the same mastermind for our listeners. We're in this mastermind together and I'm sitting on the airplane and then someone's like, excuse me, anybody sitting here? And I look up and it's Jamie and she was supposed to be on an earlier flight. You accidentally missed that one.
And she and I had been trying to connect and we kept missing each other. And it was the most, I say random, but it was the most put together, like intentional meeting that we could have never planned.
I know. Seriously, it worked out so great. So we got to catch up, which was really great. And then we had you speak at Evolve, which people loved. So thank you for sharing your wisdom. I got to see part of your session. It was so good. So we're going to kind of build from that a little bit today and let our listeners in.
I'm so excited. I loved Evolve. You and your team did such an extraordinary job. I just want to say, if your listeners have not been to Evolve yet, don't miss it next year because the transformations that happened were extraordinary, like truly. And if you are really like a business retailer, like it will take your business to the next level. So
yeah, I love it. Thank you for that plug. I so agree.
I don't think that I mean.
Yes. Same. Okay, so Jamie, before we dive in here, will you take a couple of minutes and share a little bit more about you, your experience, and what inspired you to start LUXE Everyday?
Absolutely. Well, if you don't know, really quickly, LUXE stands for Lead a Unique, Extraordinary Existence Every Day. And I'm going to take you back to my story in 2016 when life was super messy, because I feel like, sometimes we feel like everybody should have it all together. And I just didn't. I was a complete hot mess back in 2016. I had just gone through a divorce. I had 3 little kids. Financially, I was a disaster. Relationships were a disaster. My autoimmune disease was like escalating because I was under so much stress and pressure. And then on top of that, I was living in some shame, blame, and guilt just from the demise of my divorce. And if I jump back to 2011, where it all actually started, I was actually living the life I wanted to live, my dream, but also my divorce was happening. So on the outside, it actually externally looked like a hot success. On the inside, it was a complete hot mess because of everything that was happening. But I was at the time, I was traveling the globe. I was traveling to China and to Sweden. I was an international fitness presenter. I was being flown to New York for photo shoots, to LA for video shoots. I mean, it was the thing that I loved, right? And I was getting paid for my passion. And if you've ever done the thing that you love and you're getting paid for it, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And yet, because I was in the midst of a divorce and because there was so much other internal turmoil going on in my life, everything else was a hot mess. And what I want to just bring to you is sometimes we look like a hot success on the outside, but internally we have things going on that are actually holding us back from being a success in every area of our life. And that's one of my biggest things is during that I call it my hot mess decade, Crystal. Because during that time, I did learn a system for myself that actually would help me moving forward to be able to handle any environment, to handle any situation, no matter what the chaos was going on. Like in the world that we live in, it's so unpredictable right now. There's so many uncertainties. We can't control what's truly happening. And so what I did is during that time, I learned a system that helps me be able to elevate into my top version of who I am. And when things are hard, and as we know, things go crazy sometimes, and we have doubt, we have disappointment, we have overwhelm, burnout. And so I've learned this system, but because of that, I learned it because I had to go through this hard time. So I just want to encourage you, if you feel doubt and disappointment, or you're overwhelmed, or you're overreactive, there is hope. You just need a strategy and a system to get you out of that. And that's why I became so passionate about mindset, about different strategies. I call myself an elevation strategist because it's truly, you need strategies to live your best life, to produce your best work, to have the retail business that you really desire. And when you handle all the things inside of you, the outside shows it. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do.
Oh, I love it. Unfortunately, you did have to go through some of those hardships, but that often is when the innovation happens or when we have those breakthroughs that we're able to help other people. I think the most challenging thing for retailers when it comes to social media is knowing what to post. We don't always feel creative. We don't always have time to think of something to post. We have a million things going on. And so what ends up happening is we just post the same type of content all the time, or we don't post. And you know that in order to make social media grow your business, you need to be consistent. You need to be consistently showing up. So to help you come up with those ideas on what to post, my team and I have created a free download for you. This is the 365 content ideas, plus you're getting 24 customizable Canva templates that are completely versatile, that you can make your own, that matches your brand. But these resources are here so you have no excuse of not knowing what to post on social media ever again. We're giving you an idea for every single day, plus these customizable Canva templates to help elevate your content and make it easy on you. So to get this free resource, you can go to crystalmediaco.com/365 ideas. That's crystalmediaco.com/365 ideas. Get that free download, start posting, use it every single day, and stay consistent with your social media so you can see it help grow your business. You have such an incredible system now, and you help on several different ways too. And so, as we think about our independent retailers who are very busy people, most of them have a brick and mortar storefront, so they're wearing a lot of hats. I want to talk about energy management because you help entrepreneurs manage their energy, and our retailers need this. So will you share 2 to 3 practical strategies or techniques that retailers can use to increase their energy levels and productivity?
Absolutely. And I want to talk about the reason why it's so important. Because so many times we talk about like, yes, I'd love to feel more energetic. Yes, I'm exhausted. But I want you to get this because this is so crucial, everybody that's listening right now, is if you're going to a new level, if you want to maintain the level you're at, it is so crucial that we expand our capacity, and how we expand our capacity to be able to go to the next level, to be able to handle the hard things, to be able to maintain the level of success that we want to. We have to pay attention to our physical and our mental capacity, our energy. And because what happens is, and if you're listening and you can't see me, I have a hand above my head and a hand below my chin. And the hand above my head is your potential. The hand below is your capacity, your energy, right? It is your mental and physical energy. And if you're not taking care of that first, then your potential has to come down. So my hand is lowering from my head and it's coming down to my chin. It has to come down to meet what your physical vessel can actually accomplish. That's your capacity. Versus if I have the hand above my head, which is my potential, and now I am first focusing on and prioritizing my energy management, my mental capacity, my physical capacity, now I have every ability to take it up to my potential and continue to increase that capacity. That allows me to increase the amount of success. That allows me to have the ability to even be motivated, to be creative, to be more productive, right? To be less reactive. Like, this is how important capacity and energy management is. So on that note, just a couple of really quick tips. The first thing I would assess, and I always believe that awareness is really the place to start with anything. If you start with awareness, then you have the feedback and the information to make the changes, to decide what's important next. And so I would start with, where is it that you want to be? What is the level you want to be at? For your retail store, what level of success? What personal level do you want to be at? You have to start there. And what does that person need? What support do they need? What level of physical abilities do they need? You have to start there, get very clear on what is that success level? Who is that person that has that success level? And then from there, let's think from that level. What does that person do and what does that person not do? What does that person allow in their life and what does that person not allow in their life? And many times when we're going to a different level, Crystal, so say your retailers want to take it from 1 million to 2 million, right? Like whatever that looks like for you in your profits, in your business, in your personal life, we have to go to that level of what does that person operate like? What level of support? What level of boundaries? Who do they allow in their life? What environments do they produce? What podcasts are they listening to, right? What TV shows? Are they wasting their time on Twitter, on, all these things, on Instagram? Because what happens is mentally, just a quick side note, mentally, when you're spending your time, say, for example, an hour at bedtime watching Twitter or watching Instagram or watching stories, whatever it is, that actually, what people don't realize is that takes up mental capacity. And you're making decisions every single time you're watching. You're choosing to watch it, not watch it, say yes, say no, you're right. That actually steals your mental capacity. And so even little changes like that, your sleep is ginormous. So making those choices of what new levels of support do you need to stay there, to get there, and to be that person? And also, what do you need to let go of? What no longer serves you? Because so many times we are focusing on where we want to go, and we forget that there's all these things that are left over from the old version of us, the old version of what we were accomplishing, that we need to let go so we can make space for the new. So that's number 2. I would do that. And then number 3, then you start to implement it, right? Make choices as far as what would be the most powerful things you could let go in your life that are holding you back from that next level. And what are just even a couple things that you can start to bring in, draw in more of. And it might be people that are going to that next level with you. For example, I know that you have a whole community that supports that it's a positive community, right, Crystal? And I would say get around like-minded people that are doing the same thing you're doing, right? Get around environments that produce that level of success those cutting edge technologies, innovations. So you need to put yourself in those places to be successful and to have more capacity.
Totally. Okay. I hope that everybody's listening to this and takes action because it's going to require you to take some time and reflect
Mhm.
and get clear and really assess. And I'm such a big journal person. So that's the way I would do this. But however works best for you, because you have that potential.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to Rooted in Retail, I think that you want to fully move into that potential. And if we don't do this work, we won't have the energy to be able to do it. I mean, I love how you laid it out for us, Jamie, because it makes it very clear on why this is important, how I'm going to get where I want to go. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy because you might have to make some
Right.
hard decisions. Like you said, you might have to cut things, and that might be scary or hard, but in order for us to really reach that potential and have the energy to go there, we got to do it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, it's so good. Okay, I can't wait to do some of this journaling too. So, you help entrepreneurs with the limiting beliefs and invisible barriers. There's a story I love to tell about the pike syndrome, where have you heard of this syndrome before?
No, I looked it up though.
Okay,
I
okay.
want to know more.
Okay. So I was listening to this podcast many years ago, and this guy was talking about the pike syndrome, where this group of scientists took a big pike fish and put it in a tank and put a glass barrier down the center and put little fish on the other side. And they studied the pike. And as you can imagine, the pike fish kept trying to eat the little fish on the other side, but he kept running into that glass wall.
Mhm.
So then the scientists removed the barrier to allow the pike to feast, but they were surprised to find that he didn't move. He actually sank to the bottom, was depressed, sad, hungry, even though he could have gone and ate the little fish now. And so his environment changed, but he didn't. He had this invisible barrier holding him back. And the whole thing here is that what are these invisible barriers? And you do need to evolve. And that was sort of an inspiration for calling my conference Evolve, because I would often say, like, evolve or die. The fish didn't. And so I would love to hear from you. Could you describe a couple common barriers you've noticed that often hold entrepreneurs back? And how can they begin to identify these in their own lives?
Oh, this is so fun because here's what I know. Like when I was in the midst of my hot mess, there's so many things that so when life gets really stressful. So just take, for example, because everybody can relate to this, COVID, right? Life felt very stressful. It was very unknown. It was out of our control. That's similar to what I felt during my hot mess decade. And what I want to encourage you to do is, first of all, instead of letting those times take you out, learn from them. Because what happens when we're in those times is all of our unknown things inside of us, all our old stories, our limitations get unearthed. Good or bad, they get unearthed. And it's scary, it's hard. It's like a lot of times we don't want to see them. And the biggest thing you can do is actually look and trust yourself enough to be okay with honesty, first of all. And then I would say you have to look back. I'm just giving you some tools first. Look back at times in your life when situations didn't go your way and start to reflect on what really happened. Was
Mm,
there something internally with you that you sabotaged that moment? Because I know when I looked back, I was like, that is the exact thing that I didn't want to happen. And how I reacted was really weird, or I didn't like how I reacted. So I had to go back and assess why. Where was this even coming from? Because when we can figure out why, then we can start to process it and heal it and clear it. If you can't clear it, then it's just going to continue to come back up and sabotage your success.
right.
So
Totally.
some of the things I commonly see as barriers would be things like, for example, and I call it the ostrich. I have this really fun quiz, Crystal, that people can take, but it tells them what is one of their most prevalent ways of, and I call them default patterns, that they're just our normal reactions when things happen that trigger us, right? Because we
Yeah.
all have them. That's why it's not a shameful thing. Like we all do this. It is a human quality. And so one of them is ostrich, and they stick their head in the sand and they act like nothing else is going on. They don't acknowledge reality. And they just keep going on with life. Like, for example, maybe your finances in your business, in your retail business, are not good. And you're just like, I'm just going to keep working harder. I'm not going to acknowledge the problem. I'm not. So a lot of times I see that. I see ostriches.
Mhm.
And the other thing too is a lot of times they make excuses. If you're making excuses, I said this at the Evolve conference, you can either have excuses or results. You can't have both. And I
Ooh.
know that's a hard thing to hear, but it's true. And yes, hard things happen, and we feel those, we clear them, we heal them, but we also decide how can we move forward in a positive way. We can
Mhm.
always have excuses, but if you do and you don't choose to find a solution, then you're not going to have the results you desire. Other things I
Mhm.
see people doing is, I call it the sloth. It's procrastination. But the
Yeah.
reality is procrastination, they're doing everybody else's to-do list. They're doing everybody else's stuff. They're
Yeah.
creating 10 to-do lists, and not one of them is the most important thing that they're supposed to be doing in their business right now. And many times it's because of fear. They're
Yes.
fearing, right? It's really a fear or a unknown. And so they are resisting it. They don't want to
Yeah.
do it because they don't know the next step. And so really thinking through, what is just one small step I can do that would
Mhm.
move me forward? Because when you get in action, it really demolishes the doubt. But
Yeah.
you have to get in action,
So
right?
true.
And then there's just so many, but I do operating systems with my clients, and then I call them primal instincts. The primal instincts are your reactions. So what
Mm.
are your reactions? Are you a viper? Do you strike out when you get angry, when you get frustrated, when you have an unknown situation? Those kinds of things. And then the operating systems are really the behind the scenes operating system. So are you operating in victim mentality? Is
Mm.
something everybody else's fault? Is there always an excuse? Is it right? So there's all
Yeah.
these different things that can really identify specifically. But when you start to get really clear, and again, say you get triggered today, why don't you I call this, it's a very quick tool that I can share with you. And it is that awareness piece is number one, write down what was the trigger, right? What was the environment, the person, right? And think in terms of, did something happen that you didn't like the outcome? Did you react in a way you didn't like, or do you feel a way you don't want to feel from what happened? And these are when you start to write these things down. So write down the trigger, what actually happened. And then number two, how did you react? Because we have to be self-aware, because if we're
Mhm.
not self-aware, we're going to blame everybody else and everything else. And then
Right.
number three, why? And this is one of the most important pieces of information is, why did you react that way? And
Mm.
it can't be because that person pissed me off. Like, that's a shallow reason. Why did they piss you off? And then why did that happen? And then why? Like, you go a couple layers deeper so that you get to the core of what really happened and why it really created a resonant of reaction within you. So those are some
Mhm.
really powerful tools you can just do right now, starting today. It doesn't take a lot of time. You can just be aware.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so this is so helpful on the common things you've seen, how we can identify, and a tool to help us overcome those. And I just want to double tap on the why and asking why a couple of times. At Evolve, I had a closing keynote and I showed an example of asking 5 whys.
Yeah.
Because that first one's not going to give us enough
Yep.
information. We got to keep going and keep going and keep going. And the two examples I used was live streaming on Facebook. Why are you not doing it?
Yeah.
And the other one was, why are you not emailing your customers? And when you get down to it, you find that root cause
Yes.
that, like you were saying, you have to really figure that out, heal that, clear it, because otherwise you're not actually going to solve it. It's worth it to take the time to ask the whys, to
Mhm.
really understand you and how you're operating so you can clear those things out of your way and you don't have those barriers.
Oh, for sure. And what I've seen, Crystal, is like, business trainings are so important, but also your personal growth level, you can exponentially grow everything in your life when you also work on that side of you.
Yes. I'm so glad that you said that because I do think sometimes we could get like, oh, but that's fine, or, I don't really need to figure that out right now. But I don't think we realize sometimes how much it can be impacting all aspects of our lives. And this is about creating your LUXE every day, right? What's the acronym again?
Lead a unique, extraordinary existence every
Ex
day.
Yes, exactly. It's so perfect. I love the name of your company. It's so perfect. So, Jamie, I love hearing success stories on this show. It's always very inspiring when we hear about somebody else and their transformation. So, could you share a transformational story of one of your clients, where they started and where they are now?
Yeah. So I tend to work with high achieving women. And so one of my clients, I could work with dentists and real estate agents and retailers and estheticians that own med spas, like you name it. And it's really these highly driven people. And one of my clients is a very successful dentist, and she has a team of like 25. And so it's like a multi-million dollar business, and she's amazing. Like she is a light. She's so fun. She's such a great leader. Everybody looks up to her. And what I will say, and you can probably resonate with this if you're a leader and you own a business, is a lot of times my leaders feel alone.
Mm,
They don't have anybody else to talk to, right? Because they are looked at as the responsible one, as the one that's
right.
going to lead. They are looked at as they can't mess up, right? They are
Mhm.
looked at as, so they feel alone, and they also don't feel like they can be real. And so what I love about when I do work with my clients is they can be messy and we can also celebrate. So it gives you the safe space. And so she was coming into me, and her exact words were, I am a hot mess, right? Because again, like me, she externally was super hyper successful and everybody else viewed her that. And yet internally, she knew some things that were going on that made her feel like a hot mess. And she didn't
Mm,
want anybody to find out, because that's a lot of times what happens with imposter syndrome, when we feel like we have to represent this one identity, and yet we feel like a whole nother lower level identity. Because again, we haven't worked through you haven't worked through, right? Some of the things from your past that are actually holding you back for your future 10.0 self. And so
mhm.
she came to me and we worked through it, and we had to, it took a little bit of time, and we did a couple different things with her. But when it really got down to it, and this was what's funny to me, is she actually came to me because she wanted to do speaking. But when we
Okay.
started having conversation, that wasn't at all what she needed,
Oh,
and
how
she
funny.
recognized that literally in our first conversation. Literally our first conversation. And because I always want to deliver what they were actually needing,
Yeah.
but they have to tell me what that is, and then we dive a little deeper. And so what it actually came down to is, what was holding her back is was shame, blame, and some guilt from her
Mm,
past. And it was something she'd never shared with anybody before. And I think I just want you to know, if you're listening, that if you have any shame, blame, or guilt for whatever reason, for whatever it was, please let it go. Please find a
mm,
way to heal it. Find a place where you can do it, because all it's doing right now, it's just punishing you and it's holding you back. And that
mhm,
serves nobody. I don't know where you are, but I'm a God girl, and God, the universe, created you to be more, to do more. And He didn't create you to live in shame and blame. And so once we heal that and clear that, she was literally, for the first time in her life, just so free. She
oh,
was like this whole, it was almost like these, I don't even know, like these heavy weights lifted off her. And she was just this, right? Like she could feel, I guess she could feel what everybody else saw. Does that make
oh,
sense?
wow, yeah.
Yeah. And it was so beautiful, because I still get texts from her. This was several years ago, saying, letting me know, "Oh, I thank you so much. Like, I literally used these tools you taught me today in this really stressful meeting,
Mm,
and I rose to the occasion." So it's these stories that inspire me. It's watching
mhm.
people unfold into their top level of who they really created to be, and let go of anything, any old stories, any old beliefs, lack of confidence that are really truly holding them back from
Yeah.
who they were created to be in their fullness.
Yep. Oh my goodness, Jamie, I got crazy chills when you were
Oh,
saying
I
about
love
her
that.
transformation. I mean, it's
Oh,
just
I
really
love
incredible to witness that and to help facilitate that. And the fact that how did you say it? She saw herself how everybody else sees her, like just that freeing and that perspective for her is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing
it. Yeah,
that
thank you.
story.
Yeah.
I know you have a masterclass coming up, and I have a feeling that some retailers would be interested in attending that. I think I know about it. It's so good. So will you tell us about this masterclass?
Yeah, it's called Hot Mess to Hot Success because I feel like that's a very right?
Yes.
Because here's what I want people to know. You can be a total hot success, and yet there's other areas in your life that are a hot mess. And it could be
Yeah.
one, it could be multiple. And it doesn't matter because either way, it's going to affect everything in your life, everything in
Mhm.
your business. Because the lowest denominator that we have in our life will pull everything down to that level at some point. And so I would love to invite you in. You can actually go to LUXE Everyday, LUXE everyday.com/hot success to sign up for it. It's coming up. So no matter when you're listening to it, it's going to be coming up as we go. And even if I change a couple things, it will be something that you'll really enjoy coming to. So I'd highly recommend joining me in the next one.
Yeah, no kidding. Join and
Yep.
I love the name and I think it's just so perfect. Jamie, are you ready for the resilience round?
I am. Let's do it, Crystal. Woo!
Let's do it. Okay, best business book.
Okay, I brought two. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so this is it may be turned around, but Churning Pro is the one that I mentioned at Evolve. Highly recommend. It's really talking about going from pro to or from amateur to pro in
Mm,
every aspect of your life. And then the other one that really helped me was High Performance Habit with Brendan Burchard. So
nice.
because again, I consider them business books because if you're high performance in anything you do, you're going to take that in every area of your life. So those are my two.
Ooh, good ones. Best retail technology, like an app or software.
Okay, so the one that I just discovered a few months ago that I love, and I researched it because I know there's so many out there right now. It's called Nota, Notta. It's an app on your phone, and you can. What's beautiful is you can speak into it. You can do multiple different things, but you can speak into it, and it will immediately transcribe it for you. And you can
Mm,
send that places, like you can send that to people, to clients, to yourself, just as a reminder. Because I have so many clients myself that they don't have time to sit there and write down everything, but they do
exactly.
have time to speak it in really quickly. And then you can also, it'll transcribe your meetings. If you have a meeting with your team, you can put it on that. You can also import things and it will transcribe those. So I love it because it's super easy, super inexpensive. I mean, it just did all of the bells and whistles that I needed for that.
That's awesome. Okay, I can't wait to check that out. Love it. How do you keep up with the ever-changing retail landscape?
Mm. And the biggest thing I would say is going back to evolve, I would say adapt, evolve, and grow.
Mm,
Those are the things that you need to have in mind. If you are mentally agile, right? If you are innovative, if you are constantly adapting to the new things, because what's going to happen is things are just going to constantly be moving faster and faster and faster.
yeah.
And if you choose not to adapt and grow, and when we talked about growth, that is, listening to podcasts, being around, for example, the scale and Crystal's community, right? She has these programs that will help you adapt and be innovative, constantly knowing and learning the things that are working right now. So crucial.
I love it. It's so true. So good. To help retailers be stronger, more rooted in success, what's a professional development best practice?
I would say for me, I think reflection is a huge thing, but I would
Mm,
say putting like a morning routine, like every morning, looking at your day, seeing what's coming, right? And figuring out what's most important that day. We can't do 10 things that are most important. So taking a moment to be present with yourself and ground and really look at what are the priorities that day and what are just the top maybe three that you have to get done. Everything else can fall aside, but really get centered and present with yourself. So first of all, I would set up that routine so that you're looking at your week, looking at your day, what's coming up. Where do you really need to focus? Because when we get really clear, then we can have more clarity and be more powerful in how we move forward. And then at the end of the day, reflect on what happened, reflect on what worked, reflect on what you'd like to change, and then also reflect on the gratitude that you have.
I love that so much. If you had to start your business all over again, what's one thing you'd do differently?
So one thing I would do differently, I would make sure that had more clarity and I would ask more questions to my clients.
Mm,
Like, here's what I mean by that is at least I, being an innovator, would go forward with new ideas and it wasn't at all what my clientele needed or wanted. I'm like, oh, they totally need this, right?
Yep.
Ask your clients, really get in there with them and dive in to get curious with them with different questions of what's bothering you right now. What would be so much more helpful? Like in alignment with your retail business, right? But
More.
even in their personal life, what are their struggles? Because maybe there's something that you can do to really bring a release of that pain point for them, right? That would be very
Mm,
valuable for them. So I would ask a lot more questions instead of doing first and then
mhm.
figuring out, oh, that didn't really resonate with any of them.
Yeah, totally. You could save a lot of time that way, a
Yes,
lot of time and hassle.
yes, for
So
sure.
true. Finally, what does the future of independent retail look like?
I think it's a combination, Crystal. I think it's a combination of the technology that's going before us, but also the old style of true relationship and
Mm,
connection. So I think when you bring those two together, don't be afraid of technology because it's going to happen no matter what. So embrace the pieces that will help you leverage your business faster. You don't have to embrace all of it, but really get to know what are the things that are going to move you forward more quickly and make your life easier, and then also embrace, because the thing that's going to really set you apart in the technology is your relationships, is
mm,
how you create an experience, the level of touch you have with your clients, relationship, the level of value. Because I can tell you, as it moves faster and faster and there's more stimulus, the thing that people appreciate so much more now is customer service,
yep.
is people listening, using their name, actually having a connection with them, like an authentic personal connection. That will set you apart by leaps and bounds. And if you combine that with the AI, with the technology, you will be unstoppable.
Well said, and couldn't agree more. Jamie, how can people learn more and connect with you?
Yeah. Well, I'm on Instagram, so you can go follow me and connect with me on LUXE Everyday Life. And again, that's LUXE Everyday Life. And then on Facebook, same thing, LUXE Everyday Life. And then luxeveryday.com is my website. So I'd love to connect with any of you. You can email me, DM me. I would love to know your struggles or anything that resonated with you from this. Let's connect.
I love it. Jamie, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom and some of these amazing tools that we can walk forward from this episode and put into place. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, it was such an honor. I just adore you, and I loved working with your retailers at Evolve. They are just amazing, amazing. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, they really are an amazing group of retailers and people. And I'm so glad you're here. Everyone, remember that I am rooting for your success. Have a great week ahead. Bye.
Bye.
It's time to introduce your customers to their next obsession. Have you heard of Dr. Doug's? I am obsessed with this product line. A big reason why I'm so obsessed is the organic, all natural ingredients, things like coconut oil, olive oil, beeswax, shea oil, essential oils like lavender and peppermint. I personally love the magnesium balm. It helps relax my muscles. I also use the chapstick every single day. I am hooked. Dr. Doug's is a line that you can sell in your store and has a very awesome history of how they got started, because Dr. Doug is a real person. He has this story of being a Marine, then naval aviator, turned to a medical doctor, a neurologist, and he was seeking healthier solutions for himself first, and then realized that he could help other people with common issues as well, and made Dr. Doug available. So your customers are going to love it. You're going to love it. And just by being a Rooted in Retail listener, you get to save an additional 10% off your first order. You can go to drdougswholesale.com. And in the notes section, just be sure to say that you heard about Dr. Doug's from Rooted in Retail to save that additional 10% off your order. Make sure you chat that in. You get to save. Head to drdougswholesale.com to shop their products, sell it in store, and have your customers hooked. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. Don't forget to join the Rise and Shine newsletter, which is social media news you need to know, sent via email every Monday morning. Go to crystalmediaco.com/rise to join. And don't miss the newest episode of Rooted in Retail, which drops every Sunday morning.